Thank you for being here, and thank you, Puneet, and your team for organizing this event as well. So I will not talk any major sense into you today because I'm not inclined to do that at all. And I will just put some caveats which the young people from rows third onwards can consider, because row one is basically, sort of in the category of margdarshaks who can only guide you and who can only share experiences with you and who can, probably be your facilitators for the journey which you have had to take India's growth. You have heard a lot of speakers since morning. The last few slides also try to showcase our resolve and ambition to reach net zero by 2070. It's easier said than done because to make it happen will require a lot of resolve of the generation next, which means everybody who's less than 40 years of age today can aspire to do something more in the next 20 years. And balance of people who are supposed to be here are never on the table because the youth is sitting in colleges and discussing how to have become an investment banker or become a great entrepreneur without diving into the challenges of this country. So having said that, I will just put some pointers for your consideration. The first one is that you must realize as Indians, and I'm coming from a very different standpoint. I'm not trying to tell the global, west, north or south what you ought to do with India. I will tell you what India is going to do. And then we can decide how collectively we are going to go ahead. We have economic growth, and I may be wrong by the figures because I'm not an economist, but maybe about 7.5 to 8.3 is the range of the economic acceleration of our GDP, of our economy. It's been sustained for the last 3-4 years, and by all matrices which are visible through the IMF or otherwise, this growth is going to only surge. So it's only to decide as a country, where do you put this money? And today we are here talking about the energy sector. So I will talk about only the renewable energy part. You have seen our resolve 2070. You have seen 5,000 gigawatt by X date of 2030. The MNRE report says that we've already achieved 220 gigawatts as of the report of April last month. So I think we are on track. What is a little bit of concern is that when the MNRE report says 220 gigawatt, it also says that the bulk of it is solar, 48%. Then it goes and talks about, large hydro, which is another chunk, the wind part as a chunk, 23-22% respectively. And then it goes to biopower, which it pegs at about 5%. And then it talks about small hydel, 2%. If I, standing here, see this entire canvas of what we have, heard from the MNRE or what we have seen in the last few presentations as well, we forget the basic genesis and how the economy of this country has been built over the last few centuries. This country has never been through the Industrial Revolution. When the Industrial Revolution happened after the World War, we missed the boat. And that was the time we were trying to gain our independence. And when we gained independence, everybody came to us as a seller and sold to us and what we bought. So we have been paying a premium for everything we have bought as a country, whether it be defense, energy, anything else you can see on earth which has come to India has been from a buyer-seller point of view. So we never developed. And that is my whole, sort of cajoling the youth behind, is to say, look at the perspective of the energy transition as an Indian-owned movement or a process over the next 30, 40 years. And if you don't see it like that, you're only going to buy technologies. Today somebody says, okay, there's a green hydrogen somewhere here in Sweden, there is something somewhere else, and we start chasing technology and procuring the technology and trying to make, and we have 3 or 4 catchwords of Atmanirbhar Bharat, Viksit Bharat, and 3 things are aligned, and we think we're going to achieve it. No, you're not going to achieve anything because you're going to only buy. Unless you produce and unless you understand which pathway is more accurate, and the most accurate pathway is what connects the rural India to the rest of the development plan. Because everything which hinges on industrial development, industrial areas around towns, classification B and upwards to metropolitans is not going to succeed because you have to carry 80% of population lying in the rural belt of India. So the processes have to be defined from there. And that is where the biggest gap is. And since I come from that sector, is the bioenergy sector. Nobody talks about it because I was with the, International Energy Agency, and there a person who had curated a very nice report which was launched in IEW 2025 in February here in India. In January we met, and when he was showcasing his report, I only had one question, where is bioenergy? And then they went scrambling, and within a month they generated 3 pages worth of some reading, which has come as a bioenergy adjunct to that report. So I think we ought to be serious where we are going. So coming to the topic, and I'll just take about 4-5 minutes more. Net zero, 50% Aerocity, promotion of life concept, creating additional carbon sink of 2 to 3 billion tons of equivalent through forest cover, enhancing investments in vulnerable sectors like agriculture, water, disaster management, 500 gigawatts non-fossil by 2030. This is a defined pathway. The country, the Prime Minister's office has said that in no other words. How are we aligning? So the key areas which I see today where we can grow, apart from the 3 major sectors mentioned since morning, that is solar, wind, and the other hybrid systems, green hydrogen and mobility transition is the key. Let me put it this way. A common household in the United States of America has got all the necessities of life, right from their anterooms to their kitchens, right? So they have all the appliances, they have all the cars, they have all the machines, and that's a normal household. India is aspirational, and we will take another 30 years to drive these aspirations. So what does it say? It says that don't get too much cowed down by, colloquial global terms of, getting green and decarbonized. That's a good pathway, we must. But that's not just transition. India today has to evolve a mechanism of just transition. It cannot be that we turn all our, we used to hear that ad, sare ghar ke badal dalunga, some bulb ad used to come in our times, right? That's not the pathway which India should take. So you should take a pathway. 2070 is a benchmark. Now I will ask questions. There are also officials who have been at very high ranking positions in the government of India. 2070 is the time when we say net zero. And if I ask you a question as the government of India or anybody as a consortium you have created through all the alliances you have, in 2070, what's the population of India? A rough estimate says that we're going to retard our population growth rate and we're going to reach about 1.85 billion. 1.85 billion aspirational, humans on earth who have to drive industrial needs, domestic needs of energy. Have we mapped that quantum of energy? That's part one. When you map those 2 parameters of industrial requirement of energy and the domestic requirement, means the homes and the colonies you have, which pathway will be contributing to what percentile of that energy? Have we decided today? No. So I come from a standpoint of a military background. When you have an objective laid out, it's only then you can find the ways to reach that objective and capture that objective in terms of our offensive drive as a military man. Where is that pathway defined? We say just transition. So we have made a very colloquial term called just transition, and we say till 2040, 45, hypothetically, these sectors will be made green and decarbonized, and then we'll go to A, B, C. And we have kept the retail sector, which is the biggest consumer sector on earth. And if you ask anybody from BFSR or ESG background here, that retail sector is absolutely untouched. So we want to touch it only after a particular time. So I think it calls for a lot of introspection to select the pathways for the energy transition, and it's not going to be decided by one room or one conference. The other thing about the rural development is very, very important. Unless you create processes which emanate from the rural belt. Are we aware what's the rate of migration from rural to urban today in India? You can just Google. I may be a little wrong. I'm putting it at about 4 to 4.5%, maybe 4.2% today. That is the rate of migration. How do you stop this migration? You can only stop this migration when you take the lifestyle changes and make the standard of living better in the rural belt. And that rural belt should emerge itself into semi-urban and urban in the future. That's the way to look at the rural belt. And unless you put a tap to it, you will have a problem in 70 years, what Israel had 30 years back, that they had lesser of irrigation and lesser of agriculture, but then they refined. With the small population, they refined. Today they export in non-season elements and material from the earth of agriculture to various Western countries and even Japan to earn revenue. So I think we have to look at that, and that is the way to look at the food versus energy debate as well. There is no debate. India has got colossal amount, while we may be 1/6 of the land mass of America, but that land mass still is not cultivated to its optimum utilization. So whether we go public sector route, private sector route, or the farmers, are enabled to grow more, that's the way to look at our transition as well. And how are we for time? 2 more minutes? Right, so I'll conclude. So what I want to say is, towards the end, is 3 things. And these are my recommendations. Defense today, and I'm quite sure everybody understands, comes under the union list of India, right? It's mandated that the states cannot interfere when something is talked about defense. Energy security in 1947, you bought. Today the time has come that you put the energy security, if not equal to or above, I will say above, it should be one of the most important, aspects of our energy security as a country's national power. And to do that, you have to just delink all this, concurrent list kind of a talk which goes with energy sector. Because today, you have technology, you have foreign investors. Their biggest bugbear to invest in India is that while the government of India says this policy is done, there is at least 10 states in India which are not implementing or ratifying those same policies. So it's a paralysis which people see in the making, because today you have a X government in a state, tomorrow you have a Y government, and this kind of an atmosphere can never make your energy security secure in the real sense. The second is energy mapping, and a roadmap, like I said initially, has to be curated for all these pathways, including nuclear. The time has come to understand your energy needs and to peg. So bioenergy, if I say, is about 12 to 15% of 2070's pathway, because agriculture, waste and everything else will not die down. The more humans, more the waste, and you can use that waste, whether agriculture or non-agriculture. The ministerial coordination is the most important aspect, because today, as I see it from a perspective, the ministries concerned with the energy transition drive are compartmentalized. It's very difficult to even fathom something run at an apex level, where the ministries themselves are going in a disjointed fashion and trying to create results based on short-term vision. Unless you have a long-term vision, it doesn't happen. And it's not a case of what happened in my tenure. It has to be a case that what happens in what I initiate today in next 50 years in my country. That attitude has to change to be able to impress people to perform in a short time of your tenures. The triple P model is the most important model. Triple P, public-private partnership. I will add the 4th P, which is the people. Unless all energy programs, especially bioenergy, have got an instrument of people being involved directly, which is the farmer, as a stakeholder, you will not succeed. The biggest corporations in India have tried even a project like compressed biogas. They today fail because of the upstream challenges. And those are because you are going to the market as a shopkeeper, trying to buy biomass from the lowest bidder who can give you that biomass. It doesn't work in the real world, because the stakeholder is devoid from what is to be done. Research and development is the next aspect, where a lot of money, a lot of focus has to be put as a country. It's only today, in the last to last budget, that the government has given 400 CR for green hydrogen. I think all aspects of energy transition need that R&D. You need to develop that force within India. A lot of people talked about the scaling part. I will not say much. The MNRE is actively currently involved along with the Niti Aayog to have this skilling mapping and everything done. So this suggestion which I gave in the last conference about mapping of the skilling gap has been taken by the government, and I think we are going to proceed with that entire mapping. So a lot of results and a lot of industries can build around that entire ecosystem. And last but not the least is awareness. And I believe everybody who's sitting here, if on your contact list like mine, if you have 20,000 people on your contact list, or if you have even 200, you should be able to influence the world by what you want to say. Please spread the awareness that this is a journey in which we are together, collectively, both as Indians and globally as well. And let's take this journey forward. Thank you for your time. Jai Hind.